Hello everyone, Cercion here. How are you all doing today? Welcome to episode 3 of my 100% playthrough of Dragon Quest XI. In the last episode, we jumped off a cliff. In today's episode, we'll be cataloging the monsters of both the Heliodor Foothills and Manglegeove, ransacking Downtown Heliodor for all its valuables, and defeating our very first boss. With all that out of the way, let our adventure continue. Before leaving the church we woke up in, we can break these pots to find both a spool of Thraxan thread and a dose of strong medicine. Upon exiting the chapel, we're pointed towards Downtown Heliodor by Eric, who tells us we need to go over there to grab some MacGuffin. He also decides to officially join our party at this point, however, he's only level 5. Luckily, there's a whole ensemble of new monsters here for us to add to our bestiary, so let's hop to it. The first monster we come across is a Bodkin Archer, who has a 1 in 64 chance to drop either a set of plain clothes or a leather helmet upon defeat. After that, we come across a Great Saber Cub who, upon defeat, has a 1 in 16 chance of dropping a medical herb and a 1 in 32 chance of dropping a hardy hide. The next monster to cross our path is a Stump Chump, who has a 1 in 16 chance upon defeat to drop either a medical herb or a piece of pink pine. Upon chucking said Stump Chump, we head southwards in order to encounter a Great Saber Cat who has a 1 in 16 chance of dropping either a dose of strong medicine or a magic beast hide upon defeat. And finally, to round up our Foothills encounters, we have a Fungool which only spawns at night. They have a 1 in 16 chance to drop a Sleeping Hibiscus and a 1 in 32 chance to drop a Water Broken. With their defeat, we have successfully cataloged every single monster we can find in the Heliodor Foothills into our bestiary, and can now turn our focus towards collecting all this area's treasures. Starting back at the church, you can go behind the building to find a barrel containing a single file. You can then head inside the nearby well to find a chest containing a pointy hat, a pot containing a hardy hide, and a small scale and a patch of dirt. By heading leftwards from the church, you can find a sleeping hibiscus by some trees before doubling back along the church's northbound path, where you can find a chest hiding along the cliffside containing a red eye. At the end of this path is a vine you can climb to find a threshable plant before jumping down towards the waterfall to find a cotton top and heading right to find an antidotal herb. Before taking the trail eastwards, you can find another cotton top slightly off the southbound path before passing by the bridge on said eastward trail to find a chest containing a seed of strength. Doubling back to cross the bridge, you can find a beast bone and a patch of dirt to your right, along with a mining geode to your left. And finally, you can find a buzzberry tree along with a butterfly wing by taking the path towards Downtown Heliodor. While categorizing the monsters and collecting all the loot found around this area, we were able to level up Eric to level 10, nabbing the half-pinch ability in the process, which not only gave us a chance to swipe loot directly off enemies during battle, but also gave us the pet power itemized kill since we had previously unlocked Flame Slash on our hero. By using this move to deal a death blow to enemies, we had a heightened chance of receiving their rare drop after battles, which would be imperative moving forwards. On the topic of pet powers, we can head towards the church to accept this warrior's challenge to use our second pet power, the Real Decoy, during battle, which upon completion awards us with a gold chain. With that, there's nothing left for us to do in the Foothills, so it's off to Downtown Heliodor to begin a brand new ransacking spree. Upon entering the decrepit suburbs, we can head inside the makeshift inn to find a pod containing a chimera wing. You can then find a short parkour course near the item shop, atop which is a chest containing an agility seed. After jumping down said parkour course, you can find a breakable pot by the item shop itself containing a medical herb before continuing down the road to find another pot near this art stall containing 9 gold coins. To the right of Ruby's Inn, you can find 2 barrels containing both 2 gold coins and an antidotal herb before heading in the inn itself to find a pot containing a chunk of flintstone. At the end of the road, you can find a barrel by the watchtower containing a spool of flaxen thread before braving the parkour before course atop said watchtower where you can find 2 pots containing both a small scale and 30 gold coins, along with a chest containing a pair of boxer shorts. We ultimately learn that Eric's MacGuffin isn't here, so we borrow this little girl's dog to chase away the city guard in order to re-enter Heliodor proper. Once there, we interrogate Eric's old pal Dirk, who claims he sold Eric's MacGuffin to some bird brains hiding within the King's Barrel just past the Manglegeove. Before setting off for said Manglegeove, we can break a pot within Dirk's abode in order to acquire our 3rd mini-medal. Upon entering the Manglegeove, there are a brand new list of monsters for us to add to our bestiary, starting with a dancing devil who has a 1 in 32 chance of dropping a chimera wing and a 1 in 64 chance of dropping a pair of boxer shorts upon defeat. We then have a Lipsy who upon defeat has a 1 in 32 chance of dropping a metalcore herb and a 1 in 64 chance to drop a Moomur bulb. With their defeat, we have no new monsters to fight at the moment, so we can move on to this area's early treasures. Just before crossing the tree bridge, you can turn around to find a water broken lying in a patch of grass. Continuing down the path, you can find an antidotal herb within a second patch of grass before taking the trail eastwards to find both a small scale and a threshable crop, along with a chest containing our 4th mini-medal. With nothing left for us to catalog or plunder at the moment, Eric and I decide to rest up at the nearby campsite, where he introduces me to the fun-sized forge he's presumably had up his butt since before his incarceration. We put said forge to good use, forging both a bronze sword +2 and a divine dagger +3 before sleeping the night away. We find a weird plant in the morning which shows us the rather hilarious fate of the bridge builder, who we decide to help in order to continue on our journey. But not before we plunder said woodcutter's house in order to acquire a jug of fresh water, chunk of flintstone, 4 chunks of copper ore, and a small scale contained within some pots and barrels, along with the recipe for scale shields and armor, which I immediately put to use before heading off to face our first boss, the Tricky Devil. Said Tricky Devil has a total of 148 health and is only frightening when using its Sizz spell. However, if you've done any amount of grinding before this point, then this boss should be a total walk in the park. With this nefarious nuisance's defeat, the woodcutter is freed from his spell and builds us up a bridge to the King's Barrel lickety-split. Across said bridge, we can find the monsters we couldn't catalog before, so let's hop back to it. Starting with the Sham Hat Witch, who has a 1 in 16 chance to drop a hardy hide and a 1 in 64 chance to drop a single file upon defeat. Next up is a Leafy Lampling, who upon defeat has a 1 in 16 chance of dropping either a chunk of copper ore or a lamplight. Our final monster can only be found during the rain, and that monster is none other than the Bubble Slime, who has a 1 in 16 chance of dropping an antidotal herb and a 1 in 32 chance to drop a slime drop upon defeat. And with its defeat, we have successfully cataloged every monster found within the Manglegeove into our bestiary. Now onto this latter portion's treasures. By taking the northmost trail you can find, you can come across a small scale before heading south, where you can scale some small cliffs to find a mineable geode along with a chest containing a single file. After jumping off said cliff, you can head west to find both a piece of pink pine in a small clearing along with a shakeable tree by continuing eastwards. But with that, that's gonna be it for this episode. We end today's journey with 25 monsters cataloged in our bestiary, 18 accolades earned, which I'll show here for those of you who are curious, and a frankly pitiful amount of items cataloged in our itemary, which will only grow as our adventure continues. If you made it to this point in the video, then thank you so much for watching. Take care, and have a great rest of your day.
It just goes on and on and on.